Our next speaker is Penny Wong. She was Kevin Rudd's climate change minister. She's now a happy little Vegemite as finance minister. But she retains much expertise and I suspect some scar tissue on this issue. Penny Wong.
Thank you very much, Annabelle. Do I get a little bit extra because he was quick? I think I should. It's a great pleasure to be here and thank you to Nikki and the Institute for organising this. Well, what sort of leadership is required to act on climate change? To answer this, I think we need to understand why climate change is so difficult a political challenge, why it is the diabolical problem that Professor Garneau described. One of the hardest things for leaders to do is to ask people to do something difficult today to attain a benefit tomorrow. It is even harder when that benefit gained is not for those acting, but for others in the future. So we are asked to act on climate change to reduce the risk and to extend the opportunities for future generations of Australians. And the risks we are seeking to lessen will fall less on us today and far more on Australians not yet born. And the opportunities created will come sooner, but are still often beyond the horizon of our day-to-day lives. Put simply, we are asked to act today in order to make tomorrow better. And this is what makes it hard. Because the imperative to act is only present if we are each prepared to think beyond today and beyond the immediate. And this is made even harder by the aggressive, at times vitriolic scare campaign that has characterised this debate over the last year. So I think this analysis goes some way to understanding why this has been such a politically fraught policy area. It explains some of the reasons why the strength of the scientific consensus has not been matched in any sustained way by a political consensus. This is a debate that has been fraught for many reasons, including because extreme views have been too influential in the public debate. And in many ways, this policy challenge has exposed the shortcomings of our current polity, a challenge that demands far-sightedness, and we have seen short-termism, a challenge that demands cooperation, and we have seen conflict, a challenge that demands we face the facts, but facts have become irrelevant, a challenge that demands perspective, instead we have seen exaggeration, a challenge that demands consideration of future generations, but we are instead encouraged to be selfish. So given where we are now in this debate, given how divisive and how harsh it has been, the only way to achieve change is a Prime Minister and parliamentarians who are prepared to stake political capital on achieving the reform. But getting the carbon price itself is only part of the leadership that is required, because this sort of long-term reform appears to be beyond the ken of too many of today's politicians. And because of that, others must also show leadership. Business leaders, community leaders, and more are needed. We need to lift the debate out of the suspicion and short-sightedness in which we risk being mired, so we can envision the possibilities instead of shrinking from our fears. We must remind ourselves we can adapt, we can change, and that we must. But most of all, we need leaders to enable us to look ahead and to think of the future, because without this perspective we cannot adapt and we cannot change. Without this perspective, there is no long-term reform of any weight that will succeed. Thank you.